nature on a long enough time frame become genetics? I mean, let's be honest. Is the average person, is the average African as smart as the average Westerner? No. I would argue that if you go to the Central African Republic, where they don't have schools and they don't have infrastructure, and their parents haven't been to school and their grandparents haven't been to school, that probably they're not as smart as somebody who's their entire bloodline's been university educated. Probably that is true. So after a long enough time frame, it becomes genetic, and then you want to take enough of them and dump them over here and expect them to operate within complicated systems they don't fully understand. They're probably just going to say, "Fuck it, let's rob the store," and then you have. I mean, this is real. This is realism.
The United States majority is white. Running the world.
Well, white people are the best at building complicated systems. That's what the white people do best.
Yeah.
I mean, like in 1960s in NASA, when they did Apollo 11, like 20,000 of them, little white guys with glasses and pieces of paper and a pen, and they put something on the moon.
Yeah.
You get 10,000 black people in a room, tell them to achieve anything.
See, that was so wrong.
Alright, what's up folks? It's your man, Richie Rich, back with another video. And in this one, we're going to be looking at, as you've seen the title and you've seen the thumbnail, we're going to be looking at Andrew Tate, who again is known for such of his masculine, chauvinistic views, really encouraging men to really take control by the palm of his hand and take control of your life. It's all about self-development and again just really improving your life, because as I said, for the men out here, especially in 2025, Richie Rich has seen them. Oh yes. Richie Rich has seen the ones who are on Twitter, who's on YouTube, who's on all forms of social media complaining like, oh, this life is so tough. And I really can resonate, because I know how difficult the modern world is, and it's really nice when you're seeing people like Andrew Tate, even Fresh and Fit, really encouraging, especially for the men out there, to really be focused on your PNQs and really take advantage of the opportunities and the time you have to really make an upgrade and a difference in your life. Andrew Tate actually stops by as a guest on the Hodge Twins podcast 2025 on the rise of black fatigue. Black fatigue is an expression now that has changed on, like, there's a lot of people, even black people included, who are sick and tired of the constant, they say, ratchetness. And I hear a little bit of Richie Rich's thoughts on this. So be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and let's get on to this video.
Professional.
How long till there's a fight? Shanique was jumping in. She was trying to hit it. Like, we're more family orientated. We're more clan orientated. Right?
Yeah, you know, we're tribalistic.
We're tribalistic, which is a pro and a con. Again, these are pros and cons, but if you want to extrapolate it out towards a nation state, the thing the white man is best at is working with people he doesn't know. That's a white man's superpower. A white man will go, hello, I've got a bunch of money, and I want to build boats. I've decided I want to build boats. So I'm going to go and find the best boat builder. John Smith. Hello, boat builder. I don't know you. You don't know me. This is called a contract. And let's do a contract, and you're going to build the boats, and I'm going to pay for it. And now we have a successful shipping company. In Africa, it doesn't work that way. They're like, I'm rich, I want boats. Who do I know? My cousin.
Yeah.
My cousin can't build boats. He doesn't know anything about boats, but that's who I know. He's the only guy I trust. He's in my clan. He's my family. So I go to my cousin. You're in charge of the boats. Okay, I will build the boats. And he takes the money, and then no boats get built. And everything's fine. That's why the finance minister is the second cousin of the fucking president.
He just mentioned like what he said about Africa. From someone who has been in Africa, Africa is some place, and I believe that's what's translating into the Western society, is very tribal. There's a lot of groups, factions, cliques that are with the African community. But the leadership has been fucked in Africa since the beginning of time. Like, I've been in Africa now almost coming to 10 times. And one of the things I've always, even when I was young, I always knew that logic never made sense there. It really is the jungle when you're in that place. There's people who look like me and you, but it is a mentality that is completely different from the West. And one person told me this, and he was an African dude, and I'll never forget this. This is when I was working a lot of these, say, chicken change jobs. Like the hustle is real. I was working one job, and there was an African immigrant I met at one of my jobs, and he told me something I'll never forget. He said with Africa is sometimes when you try to make sense to them, they want to fight you. They have an idea of like what this is supposed to mean. So sense and logic really gets lost once you're in places like Africa, and that's something that really fails when it comes to like leading nations such as big as Africa, such as big as the Africa continent. I feel the Hodgkins were basically saying that most of like the complaint from racism is coming from the black community. But it's weird because people, and this is why I really encourage for anyone who's watching this video, like, again, if you're not on the Rich team, just come speak to me and we'll welcome you with open arms. But with all seriousness, there's guys who are from the States in America who have never ever left the continent, never left the country. So for them, they don't really know what it is on the outside. They don't know how Mexicans make the tacos. They don't know how cassava leaf is in my place in Sierra Leone. Yeah, shout out to Sierra Leone. They don't know how Taekwondo is being taught in Shanghai, China. You can really take advantage of your passport and start traveling the world, especially when you can live outside of the world, live outside of your like birth country or the place you were raised in. It really opens your mind to some epic fucking proportions, and you will not be there sitting there complaining about like, why is things like this, why is that, why can't I get a break? You will remember, like for me, even through my hardest, darkest days, I remember some of the mean, tough shit and experiences I had to deal with in Mexico. So I'm more gratified when I'm in Canada and like we got Wi-Fi that works. There's no earthquakes. There's no like danger if I'm walking home at night. You understand? So there's this like gratification that I get when I'm here, and that's what even when Tate's talking about this, it's like there is sometimes like you have the opportunities to really do something, but you just want to blame the white man. You want to blame it on racism. What he's detailing here is about the need for infrastructure. There's a reason why you go to, especially the most developed countries, the first thing you see is schools, libraries, hospitals, post offices, and factories. I think these are like the 5 mains. I may be missing one. But these are the most like common, let's say, facilities that would be there, especially when a country is possibly starting from scratch, or even a city or a town. They need these essentials, and all of this, as I mentioned, these 5 there, they're all going to need like job positions, so, which is going to require workers. And even before the workers, even before they get the workers, there will be schools for them to study and learn the crafts and skills that it takes to work in these occupational positions. And that's something that lacks in places like, of course, Africa, biggest continent in the world, but they don't have that structure of like supply and, let's say, demand. And they're not thinking of, as I said, I've always seen it, and it's going to be interesting when I return back to Africa. I don't believe sometimes there is a long-term thinking or a long-term plan. Everything is for now. It's like I see the zebra, I'm hungry, I need to eat. I'm gonna go chase that zebra, kill it, bring it for me and my family to eat it, and we eat it, and then like the zebra is done. What about if there's no more zebras? What if that was the last zebra? How are you gonna accommodate to have more food for the rest of the year, or to have it to be long lasting? It's that difference from that short term thinking and long term thinking. I can't understand it. I believe, as I said, once you've actually lived outside of, especially for a black man, when you've lived outside of a place where a lot of your people are not there, you can really start to see like how the other ethnicities and nationalities usually think. You can really spend time. I remember when I was in Mexico, like within the first couple of weeks when I was there, because again I was learning Spanish and of course adapting to this new culture. My guy who I was staying at my place I was staying with, my landlord, I was always like picking his brain. Like, why was he thinking like this? How he would move around the city, like his job, how he would interact with his family. I would pick his brain and I would see like, wow, this is way different to, of course, like how the Africans or even like the black people move with their families. But if you don't like live there and kind of step outside the comfort zone, you would never experience that. I mean, how many times have you seen like an African person, they say like they've just come off from the bush. They've just like come off the boat. I'm sorry, they just come off the boat. When they get to like here, like in North America or the Western worlds, when you see them, they go in and they just start looking up and they start seeing these big skyscrapers, these big business buildings, like all this infrastructure there, and they still have the mind of the jungle. Like again, I gotta hunt for my food because this is what I need for today. So what he's saying there is that can be such a, you talk about culture shock, man. This is the biggest, like you're talking generational shock of coming into this place and you got these complementing structures, and now we're living in such a modern time more than ever, which is like the digital era compared to possibly even 20 years ago. So sometimes you do really see like, why is it like these ones who just come from abroad, and this is not even Africa, I believe. These are some people, of course, from third world countries. When they come here and they're trying to understand like how real civilization works in a developed country, they can't just handle it because they remember, of course, how the favela and how we had to go like hunt for our food is still a part of them. Tribalistic, yeah, it's a great way to say it. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, just imagine that was so 1960. Now that would be, I believe, almost 60 years ago. 1960, yeah, 60, yeah, it would have been almost 60 years ago. Imagine at that time. So we're looking at like, you talk about like the advancement of technology and systems now. Just imagine that 60 years ago, these geniuses were able to figure like we can actually go out of the Earth's orbit and put a spaceship on the planet, and they were able to like successfully capture images of the moon. Of course, like controversy, they say that, but still the idea of like that was able to enter the atmosphere, and that this is some stuff that it wouldn't be feasible if there wasn't like these super geniuses. And it's of course, it's just like the case of like you're not gonna, when people automatically think of like when a genius or where like a smart super intelligent person is 9 times out of 10 you don't think of them from Africa. Unfortunately, that's just the case. And you can even say some ethnic minorities, because as he said, it's more of a tribal. I even mentioned earlier when he talked about like, when I mentioned about like the zebra, there's a family of 4. This is the family. You got the chief, you got the wife, and you got the kids. We're hungry, we need to eat. We're gonna hunt this zebra and we're gonna eat him right now, but we're not gonna think about what's gonna happen for a long term. We're not gonna think of, okay, what if the zebra had kids? Like how are we gonna think of stuff in a long term? And I feel like that's the difference. It's just a different mentality. And what you're saying about culture and genetic, I can honestly say there is a different way, of course, how, of course, there's a different, and this is why culture is something I really love to talk about, because I know so much different culture is. But for sure, there is a genetic difference between black people and white people. Most of the times, there are some people who, like I said, that they're black on the outside, but they have a lot of like white characteristics. Even some people have said I've had that, but in the general sense, yeah, for sure, the mentality and even just the way, the patterns, how they behave on most occasions is completely different. Yeah. What he's saying there is thing. I've been in so many situations where again, it's this difference between logic and just that tribal type of nature. Like many situations where I've been in Africa, or even just amongst the people, when it comes to, of course, like that legality and like putting pen to paper, of course, what he's mentioning, like the contract is, there's so many times where decisions are not made, especially back there, without contract. The way the money gets used, it's a weird way. It gets passed around with emotions, with spirituality, with traditions, rather than just the logical, like, I need this, so I need to get the best person. As you mentioned, the boats, like, I don't know how to make boats, so I will search the whole world to find the best person who can make this boat. Whereas, as he said, in Africa, everyone knows someone that they've known from back into the day, whether they went to school with, or it could have been their neighbor, or it could have been the same person that they went to carry the water with on the head. The point is that rather than looking for the most competent person for the job, they're looking for the one that they know. They're one that they're familiar with. And that's tribal. That's like how it is in jungle. Like the lions are gonna stay with the same lions that they know. If a new lion comes, even though this new lion is better than them, they're not gonna give this lion a chance. Why he said that that part where he said about like this is my people only, black people. I mentioned, of course, videos before. I've talked about like how many times when like there has been a situation when like a black person has done some fucked up shit, has really done some the most egregious bullshit, but you still have some dedicated black people be like, oh, because of my blackness, I'm not gonna hold this person accountable. Many times, man. Like I'm saying, like when you're seeing shit like with what Cardi B's doing, and you hear black women going like, "You go, girl, yeah, yeah." Oh, Stephen Diggs, but I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I don't think if this was in another ethnicity, she would be applauded. But in our fucking community, that shit happens, and that's just the goddamn truth. It's tribalism. Like I said, she looks like me, I'm like him. I'm gonna stick with them. Whereas I think other ethnicities have, and this is why I'll bring the Asian community and the Latin community, Hispanic community, and of course the white community. They're more strict when it comes to taking accountability, even if those people are their people. Whereas the black community, that's where they really fall behind of they're really tolerating like bad behavior and bullshit just because they're one of them. Because I'll be real, when the video that the Hodgkins put up, there was a time when I was young, I really used to get emotional about this because yeah, I mean, there was a time, this is going way back, there was a time where it wasn't cool to be African. This is before Black Panther came out. This is before you started to see like these Afrobeat stars and all these like African designers, the Africanas and the dashikis. There was a time if you were African, it was super, super negative at that time. They called you booty scratchers, like you didn't know anything, like you were like dirty, like really dirty. And I remember there was times when Africans wanted to identify as Jamaicans because they didn't get so much hassle or so much negative like thoughts and opinions of them and everything. So people were some Africans, and I would observe this many times. They would identify as Caribbeans, not to get that onslaught of being Africans. But it's funny because when you see this is where, like I said, this is where the motherland, that type of tribalistic way, because this is what they're born and grew up and surrounded in this, it's not something that can change. To be honest, it's one of those things. As Andrew Tate, he mentioned it excellent. You mentioned it so fantastic in detail there, where a lot of Africa, as huge as that continent is, sitting on like gold and silver, diamonds, rubies, you name it. Well, the West only sees that as a place like we can just go, come in, as he said, send some soldiers, extract the resources, and we'll go make America great again. We'll make that a superpower. But we know, like, if we stay and we say, okay, we're gonna try build and work with these people nations, because of this tribalistic mindset, as you're seeing from this video, they know that they cannot really unify and work together. It's a mindset of, okay, as I told you, I'm not gonna repeat it again, but it's that more survivalistic type of view. Whereas Tate even mentioned it, it's like places like America and the West, they're thinking of like what is the benefit for society. Of course, like we need buildings, we need schools, we need libraries, we need infrastructure. Whereas this one is literally just to survive another day. As I've said it many times, like especially this year more than any other year, because I post more videos now on TikTok. Follow me at RichManZ. Most of the times when I'm on the feed, I can't tell you how many times I see it's not even just other races, but I've seen black people even just commenting on like how they cannot stand the way a lot of black people are acting like now, like they do belong like back in the jungle. They're not fit enough to be in this civilized setting. It was talking, you really understand like how much of a super freaking genius Andrew Tate was. The way he was able to dissect and give his viewpoints on like how the situation of like Africans who are in Africa and why a place like Africa is only a place to again take valuable resources, but a very difficult place to really advance and develop into these big nations that we see all across the world like a superpower. What's like holding it back is pretty much the way the people his mentality has been since the beginning of time. Very interesting take. I feel like everyone who is of black origin, especially African, just like Richie Rich, truly understands. He's not wrong here. 100% correct what he says. I find it interesting, of course, it's a biracial person who's the first person to actually say these comments. So it's really, really fascinating for him to put this out. But let me know what y'all think about this video. Let me know what you think about Black Fatigue, Andrew Tate. Put it down in the comments section. And of course, if you haven't already done it, folks, what are you waiting for? Get your paper right and update your wallet.